I'm Danielle Cook, and I want to welcome you to Cooking with the Cook Sisters, brought to you by the United States Botanic Garden. We're very, very pleased to be with you regularly to offer online cooking demonstrations and home garden tips. Last week, I showed you my recipe for simple white beans, and today I'm going to turn them into a warming dish with fennel, tomatoes, and sage. But first, the other cook sister, Adrienne, is waiting for us in her garden, winter pruning her hardy herbs.
Hi, I'm Adrienne. Welcome to my garden. The herb garden needs some special care in the wintertime to get it through the winter and to make sure that they're going to be ready to get going really well in the spring. So let's get started. My thyme took a hit last summer. The humidity caused a fungal disease to settle into its center, turning it brown. The exterior kept on growing with green leaves, but eventually it too sort of died back. I don't think the plant is dead. I'm trimming it back and I'm going to give it another chance in the spring. We'll see what happens. The oregano is doing very well. Looking down into its center, I see healthy new growth right close to the ground. That's where the plant will launch come spring. I'm going to trim around the edges to clear the older growth. It mainly needs to be tidied up. Speaking of tidying up, chives, which is another hardy perennial that'll come back year after year, they need to be cut back. They're pretty much done for the season. It'll also give that parsley plant a little breathing room. Mint stays green and fragrant all winter long. As delightful as that is, it is notoriously aggressive. It sends out runners that try to root everywhere. This one started out in April as just a small plant. To keep it confined to its container, I have to really stay on top of the pruning. I'm harvesting my sage and cutting back the thick woody stems that need to be taken care of before spring growth begins. You can see the healthy young growth at the very base of the plant. That's where it'll launch when spring comes. Now that I'm done with the herb garden for the day, I'm going to go inside and see what Danielle's going to be doing with her sage today. Let's go.
My garden sage is doing wonderfully well this year, and we're going to use some in today's recipe. The base of this dish is the simple white bean recipe we did last week, but in a pinch, you can always use canned beans. Let's start by prepping up our base vegetables. Today, we're making a simplified version of a classic dish from Tuscany, Italy. I'll remove the stalks and the fronds from the top of the fennel bulb. The stalks can be used in a vegetable broth, and the fronds can be chopped and used as garnish. But today, we're just using the bulb. This bulb is so fresh and unblemished, we can use the whole thing. If you notice blemishes, remove them with the help of a vegetable peeler and just use the pale part. Now we'll heat some oil in a large Dutch oven and start sautéing our base vegetables. Sage is a sage-old herb. Across cultures, sage has been used for its medicinal properties and is even considered sacred. In the United States, we associate sage with our turkey stuffing, but it also enhances winter soups, root vegetables, and other legumes. Cover your vegetables and let them cook to soften about 10 minutes. The next step is to add one 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes and your beans. Mix it well, cover, and let it simmer while we turn our attention to the fun part. We're going to fry our sage leaves. While the oil heats up, pick your sage leaves. I don't wash the leaves because moisture will cause the oil to spit and splatter. Fry the leaves a few at a time until they turn dark green and the edges begin to curl a bit. Be careful because the moisture in the leaves themselves can cause the oil to splatter. They cook quickly, so move fast. And now you have some beautiful crispy sage leaves and some sage-infused olive oil, which we're going to use as well. Our flavors have melded nicely in the beans and we're ready to serve. break up your crispy sage leaves. Add some shaved or grated Parmesan, a few grinds of fresh pepper. Drizzle the dish with your sage-infused olive oil. This is a hit as a main dish or as a side with chicken or pork. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll see you next week for more winter recipes and garden planning ideas.